Hey, good morning, Drive Time. Welcome back. Today we have the pleasure of having Pastor Joseph Gilchrist, who, as many of you know, is our high school and youth pastor at Cape Christian. And Joseph, thanks for being here. Thanks for spending some time with us this morning. And guys, he had it on his heart to come and talk to us today. And it's just going to be a word for a lot of us, and it has to do with our character. So Joseph, please, again, thank you for being here, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here. I did. I just wanted to talk, you kind of approached me a little while back and said, is there anything kind of pressing or on your heart? And I think with most men in general, especially men in America, most of the young men I work with, a lot of young adults, young adult guys, talking about this topic of really fighting for your character. And so before I even jump into character, I think this fight mentality is such a big deal. I talk to these guys, and whether it's young men, middle-aged men, older men that are going through stuff, there's always these wants, these desires, like, I want this career, this is the career I want, or I want to get from position A to position B, or there's this dream I have, or the dream of even a lot of younger guys, like, I want the family, I want the wife and the kids, and I want all this stuff, and there's all these desires, but it's like, what are you doing for it? And even a lot of times I'm getting like, well, I'm trying. Like, what is trying? Like, we're men. Like, what are you talking about trying for? I think of like the guys, the sports athletes that we worship, the word try like never came out of their mouth. The word training, the word fighting, that's the type of stuff they talked about. Whether you talk about, who Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, like these guys don't talk about Joe Montana, these guys don't talk about like, oh, I'm trying to win a game. Well, I tried, coach, like what? Like that never comes into place. They put themselves in a position, they fight for things and they train for things to put themselves in a position so that the end result is as conclusive as possible without it being conclusive. And when they fail, they take that hit. And when they succeed, they get that praise. And in our society, rightfully so, because they didn't just try for something, they trained and they fought for something. And I think there's almost like an epidemic of guys now in our culture that are going, well, I'm trying, or I want this thing, but I'm not willing to put in the blood, sweat, and tears to get to it. Which anybody who has done something worthwhile does know the only thing that makes it valuable is the blood, the sweat, and the tears that you put into it. You always use the analogy like Rob Gronkowski. If I ran up and caught a 10-yard touchdown from Tom Brady and I spiked the ball and we were in the Tampa Bay Stadium, Raymond James Stadium, and I spiked the ball and I'm like, yeah, and Tom Brady runs over and gives me the Lombardi trophy. And then I show up at church the next week and I'm like, oh, look, I won the Super Bowl. I won the Super Bowl. This is my trophy. People would look at me like I'm insane, and rightfully so. But if Gronkowski came in, he caught the same 10-yard pass, he did the same Gronk spike, he had the same trophy given to him, right? And yet everybody would be praising him and like, I can't believe Gronk just showed up here. Like, this is amazing. This is so cool. Why? Because the only difference between those two things really is the blood, the sweat, and the tears that went into it. It was the same trophy. It was the same finish line, the same end zone. It was the same guy who even threw us the pass. But the difference is he went through all of the blood, the sweat, and the tears to actually train for something. There was obstacles in the way, right? There's 11 guys trying to stop him. So the only real difference is the fight that it took for him to cross that line and catch that ball. And the value is never really in the price tag of the trophy. Nobody even knows. I mean, I'd have to literally Google search to find out how much the Lombardi trophy actually costs, price tag wise. Nobody cares about that. The value is in the blood, sweat, and tears to get there. And so before you even go into character, I think you have to go into the realm of fight. Are you even willing to fight for something? And then when you talk about fight, the piece that I want to bring in is, I think the most important thing that we should be fighting for as men is our character. Our character has the ability to sink us or float us. It has the ability to drive us. It doesn't matter. It's the closest thing to, it does not matter what happens in external circumstances. If you're fighting for character and integrity on the inside, you are giving yourself the best chance to thrive regardless of the circumstances around you. And so I've heard it. There's a great study there called Habitudes by Tim Elmore, and he kind of breaks down this iceberg thing. It's in one of his books, and they're really small, like 3-page chapters. If you get a chance, actually, it'd be great to go buy one. But the thing he talks about with this iceberg mentality, many people obviously know about the Titanic. The Titanic in the early 1900s hit the iceberg and sinks. What a lot of people don't know is that the captain of the iceberg actually saw, I mean, the captain of the Titanic actually saw the iceberg. He saw it. What he saw though was the top 10%, and what he believed was we can hit that and we can withstand it. So if I remember right, I think he sent a signal just to go back to your rooms, but he didn't cause panic. Actually, they could have actually turned the boat and completely missed it, but it would have created some internal damage to the rooms that they had set up. So he thought, no, it's small enough. We can kind of bump into it. We'll graze it. It will do less damage, and we'll keep moving on with our journey, with our trip. Well, obviously, revisionist, history, hindsight's 2020. We get to know what he didn't see was literally the 90% of the iceberg that was below the surface. And the thing that sunk the Titanic was not the 10% above, is the 90% below. And the way we can look at this is when we talk about character and integrity, your character is the 90% below. And it has the ability to either float the ship or sink the ship. And so the question I really have for us in this moment is what's going on in your character? What is going on in your integrity? How are you operating? What are you working for? What are you fighting for? How are you working towards character, working towards building integrity? And here's the thing. Society plays a really dirty game when it comes to our character and integrity, because what society ultimately is telling us most of the time, it doesn't matter. Don't work for it. Don't fight for it. They're actually selling us the opposite. They're giving us the opposite pitch. And they're saying, hey, if you want, YOLO, do you, boo-boo, like all of these, real, these trendy statements, but they're real in their heart. And they're selling us, the amount of alcohol ads are more than anything else. They're telling, hey, drink whenever you want to drink. If you want to drink, go drink. If you want to lust, go lust. If you want to look at porn, go watch porn. If you want to spend money, go spend money. Like, you do you, live your life. You only get it once. Why would you be stuck with one person for the rest of your life? Why would you be committed? Why would you do all these other, like, just go live life kind of recklessly? And here's the thing, they sell us that until we do it. Until you do it. As a guy, if you start drinking so much that you become an alcoholic, you start lusting and watching porn so much until you have an affair on your wife, you spend so much money until you become you have to file for bankruptcy. And then what society does is completely distances themselves from you. You're a loser. You deserve to be a loner. I don't want to associate myself with you anymore. And you become punchline to a bad joke. You become a punchline to a joke at that point in time. And you don't need to look further than the guys in the spotlight. Chris Brown, Johnny Manziel, Tiger Woods, all of these guys who were completely in the spotlight, and people knew what was going on, and they didn't care, because that was the selling pitch. That's, oh, he's getting his. Johnny Manziel, get yours. Why are you hampering on him? He could still do on the field while still go party every weekend, except for it caught up to him. He ends up in rehab, and now he can't even get a starting spot in the Canadian Football League. And that's not to down on him. I'm saying what society did though during it was praised it until it dented him. And this is what they're going to do with our character and integrity for the rest of your life. And nobody else is going to come and stand up and say, fight for this thing, work for this thing. But it is the thing that will sustain you. It is the thing that will keep you floating. It is the thing that will keep your ship going if you continue to build your character every single day, no matter what happens, in the good and the bad, you have complete control over this hidden, often unmentioned, and yet very fixed entity. And it is your character. My encouragement to you today is to fight for your character, to fight for your integrity, and specifically get a few guys around you. You need to get a few guys around you. And here's what they're going to do. They're not going to pray. You need to show them the 90%. Some of us have 90% of junk underneath. You need to show them the 90%, and you need to say, hey, and here's the response you need to hear before you say, hey, you could come on me with this journey. The response you need to hear is not, oh, it's okay, man. That's all right. I do that too. Not a big deal. Nope. That's the dirty trick they're going to play on you. The other response you need to not hear is, I can't believe you do that. That's so terrible. I would never even think about. No, you need to find 3 or 4 guys that can hear the dirt that's going on and go, hey, I understand it, but we need to work at it because that's lethal. That's dangerous. That'll sink you. And I want success for you when you're 40, when you're 50, when you're 60. I want success for your marriage, and I want success for your future kids. So let's work on that. Let's fight for that. That's my encouragement.
All right. So let me ask you this real quick. You're talking about fighting, and I agree 100% on the concept of getting a team around you, a band of brothers around you. But on the day-to-day, how do we fight that? Like you said, it's not about trying to be better. It's about working to improve. Are there some tangible steps, something that we can land on today where when these guys are done watching the video today, they can go, okay, you know what? I don't know how to make myself 90% better, but you know what? I can do that one thing. I can work on that area, not try harder, but I can work on that area and I can improve in that facet of my life.
Yeah. There's a few of them for sure. I will just give you the one that I think is most pressing, and the one that I think very few of us ever do. And that is core values. List out your core values. What are the principles that you want to live by that are going to enable you to take a moral stand in the moment of hardship? So when those moments come, when those character moments come, like where do you, and this is a great question to ask. And I actually asked this question. I took this one. This is from 5 Marks of a Man by Brian Tome. It's the very end of his book. And he basically encourages guys, hey, go actually list out the values that you want to live by. And I realized I've never done that. I've thought about that. I've anticipated certain things. I've lived by some of them, but they're not written down. And that means they're just in the air. That means they're nebulous. That also means that they can change. I think it was actually interesting to me. I just thought of the 10 greatest commandments. God actually wrote them down. You know, when Jesus showed up, the greatest commandment, 4 different guys wrote them down. So we can actually read them, and it kind of keeps you coming back to something that's foundational, it's structural, it's there, it's written down. And I realized even in my own life, I'm like, I don't have that. I have the group of guys, I have a lot of other things right, but where's the thing that I wrote down? And then don't just write it down, show it to somebody else. That takes some vulnerability, it takes some strength to do that, but write down these are the 10 things, these are the 12 things, and like, for instance, maybe in the place of purity. So one of them is, I want to be pure. I want to only, only go to certain places with my wife, and that's it, And so that's really broad, but then underneath it, go specifics. How does that happen? How do I do that? So I'm not going to lust after women. I'm not going to look at porn. I'm not going to I don't want to take second looks. I don't want to take long first looks. I'm writing very specific things down that are going to level me all the way up to going, oh, now I've achieved purity because I've hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so the broad one is there. And then I've written a bunch of specifics, and then I've showed it to a few guys. And I went and said, this is what I want to stick by, so that when you're out with me, when we're out in public, if you see me doing something, if you hear me saying something, that you can also go, hey, you told me you were going to live by something different. You listed out your core values to me, and you're now, again, for what the position it puts you in is you really have to eventually go completely against all of those things and ultimately say, forget everything I said, forget everything I wrote down. I'm just going to be a hypocrite. And that's a tough, as men, we rarely would do that, but it's because we haven't taken the intentionality of it, actually writing down our core values, our moral standard individually. This is what I will stand for. This is what I'm going to fight for. Does that help?
That is not only helpful, but like convictingly frightening. I don't know if that's the right way to say it grammar wise, but that is so good. And it's like, if you're lost in the woods, you want to know which direction is north so you can find your way out. Yeah. And, if you never decide what your true north is, if you never decide what direction you want to head, then you're just wandering around in the trees looking for something and hoping to stumble across something. Yeah. So that's fantastic. Way to put it,
actually, I'm going to change that in next time. Discover your true. That's what it is. It's finding your true north. That's really good.
So, well, hey, Joseph, thank you for being here. Thank you for spending time with us, and thanks for that reminder and that challenge to determine that true north and to figure out, who it is we want to become. Because like you said, whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, there's growth to happen. There's growth that needs to occur. And if you don't know what direction you're going to head, the journey's not going to look the way you want it to look in the end. Yeah. So, but again, thanks for being here, gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week on an episode of Drive Time.
Thank you.